is Thursday, the 14th of April. I'm just leaving the office to go do a move-out evaluation. Property that turned in keys the day before yesterday. I probably normally would have done it yesterday, but we had a huge storm come through on Tuesday with a lot of hail and wind and a lot of damage. So it was a crazy day yesterday. And I made a really brief recording yesterday of a few minutes. I don't even think I got all the way down Military before I was done with it. And it was really solely about having to deal with hail damage. Honestly, it gave me kind of a rush. It was kind of an exhilarating morning because I woke up, we saw the storm. We got hit pretty hard with it. I think I even noted yesterday. And I knew there was going to be a possibility for an extremely busy day with people calling with hail damage, roof damage, or whatever. And it was as expected, but it gave me a rush because it was something that came up and boom, needed to be addressed, needed to be handled, and I stepped up and I came up with a game plan and I dispatched the game plan to the rest of the office, and I dispatched it to our maintenance team, and I dispatched it to vendors and said, all right, this is it, this is how we're going to deal with this, and this is how we're going to prioritize it, it's going to be a busy day, boom, 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 boom. And I was excited, I was drawn into the moment, and for the first time in a long time I was excited about something to do with property management. And it really had nothing to do with property management, it had to do with management, managing situations. And I made that recording yesterday, and all I had to talk about was the storm, and then all I could think about was the storm. And I even, that's the reason I cut it short, it was because that was all that was on my mind. I couldn't think about anything above and beyond that because I was so caught up in the moment. It was living in that moment and what needed to be done, and it was an exciting couple of hours until it faded, and then I crashed and felt like I had no energy to do anything. The adrenaline wore off, the excitement wore off, and I was left with this kind of empty feeling. And a reminder that the things that I do on a daily basis are extremely trivial, which I asleep? Why did I fall asleep? How long have I been asleep? And it had only been 20 minutes, but I was out deep for 20 minutes. And then the shock and everything, the adrenaline from waking up and feeling panic kind of jolted me back into being alert. And I went straight to a property from home because it was closer to home than it was to the office. And then got back to the office, and it was creeping up on 4 o'clock, and I hadn't had my afternoon tea yet, so I made a smaller serving of tea. Normally I would have a double, but I had a single, and drank that, and I really felt much better after that, but I still felt that lingering feeling of dissatisfaction that the morning couple hours I really stepped into my element. I felt like I was doing what I am best at, and that the rest of the stuff that I do on a daily basis is really insignificant and doesn't really benefit me on the level that I'm looking for. So I was left with that kind of empty, sad feeling, and maybe it's time for a change. What can I do? How can I do it? And again, I really felt like I was missing the restaurant industry, because you're put in those situations in that environment on a regular basis, and I excel at that, and which is what made me such a good manager when I was in the restaurant business. But it's like I just need to get through the day, so I finished up everything I needed to do, answered all the emails I needed to get answered, followed up on a lot of the broken window roof deal issues that we need to, at least to get to the point where I felt good going home. I felt like we had covered all bases and there was nothing that was neglected. And went home and just kind of felt slightly lost, empty, not motivated. Again, still felt a little tired, and was feeling again ravenous again. And I felt like I need to make it to dinner time by the time I got home. And what do I want to do? And I'm looking at the mess outside, because it really is, with that hailstorm, it's a mess. And I didn't work out last night. I need to work out. I would like to maybe play around with my lathe and some of the woodworking things that I wanted to do, but do I really want to dig all that stuff out? Because it's going to affect the workout area if I do that. And there's just a lot of stuff going back and forth in my mind. But I'm like, I put my workout clothes on, so I'm going to work out. And I did a couple of little things around the house, watered some of the plants, and took care of a few odds and ends, and before I did it, but then got out into the garage in the workout area and got in a good workout, and felt really good about it. But still had that kind of empty, lost feeling, and then I needed to figure out something for dinner, and I was really leaning towards something a little bit more extravagant, but didn't really have the motivation to do that. And some of the things that I was considering doing, I was still going to need to go to the store and get a few items to finish that out, but ended up finding something that I could do with just what we had at home that was satisfactory to everybody, and basically started out on doing that. And it took me an hour or so to put all that together, but and we ate. It was 8:30 probably by the time we ended up eating dinner, and I felt pretty satisfied with that, but still that little bit of dissatisfaction. I was like, you know what, I'm just out of curiosity, I'm going to look at some job sites and see what kind of restaurant jobs are out there, management or chef positions. And I found a couple, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's something I would maybe be interested in doing. And it made me feel good, because it gave me that option of making that decision if I wanted to. And I was trying to do it on the sly, and Rhonda walked around the computer and said, what are you doing? You're not looking at restaurant jobs, are you? I'm like, just exploring my options. And she said, we'll never see each other if you do something like that. I'm like, yeah, I know. And I said, just looking things are. And she basically left it at that. And I looked a little bit farther, and I was content with having looked, which is what I was hoping would be the result. And went to lay down in bed, but then it kind of hit me, am I willing to do that? Am I willing to commit to something on that level? Because once you do, there's no more regular scheduled days off, and even when you're on a day off, you're not on a day off, you're on call, and it's very possible that you're going to have to get in. And that's how I approach restaurant management. And I know a lot of companies say, all right, well, we guarantee 2 days off, and when your days off come, you're off, you're not going to be contacted. But for me, in my experience, and for that level of commitment, there is no such thing as scheduled days off or guaranteed days off. And you're basically, for me, I would be starting over from scratch again, starting over at the beginning, and in not a new career, a career that I'm definitely proficient at, but basically have to prove myself all over again to a whole new set of individuals. But what was the draw was, being a general manager and not having to ask permission on a daily basis to do this, or what do you think about it? I mean, that's really what kills me in my job right now, is not being in charge. I don't like being an employee. I never have. And so anyway, I just ideas and stuff going through my head, and we got through the evening and wrapped everything up and went to bed at a decent time so I could get the sleep that I knew would benefit me for today, that would make me more physically able to do the things that I need to do. And I slept pretty hard, and I woke up and I really felt that I couldn't do this today. I couldn't get out of it. I didn't feel like I could get out of bed, and it was a feeling of sadness and almost despair that I just don't want to do this. I don't want to do this anymore. And I sat up on the edge of the bed, and I was trying to work my way through that, repeatedly telling myself, once I get up and get moving, shake the cobwebs out, and get some clarity, I'll feel better. But I felt tired. I felt almost physical pain of sadness, really, that I just didn't want to do this today. I just wanted to crawl back in bed and sleep the rest of the day, and figure out what I was going to do when I eventually woke up. But I got up, put the dog out, went to the bathroom, and that started to fade a little bit. I mean, I was really trying to force it out of my head anyway, and eventually got through that. But still, there was that feeling, especially carrying over from yesterday. Where am I at with this? How am I? What's my next step? Because I feel like I'm spinning my wheels right now, and I really felt like everything that I recorded so far, it was basically a waste of time. And again, we're all going to have feelings of doubt and just uncertainty about what we're doing and how we're doing it. And you got to weather the storm and continue moving on the path that you're on, knowing that those states are not really a clear, focused consciousness. It's really a muddled mix of a bunch of different things that it's a distraction, really, and it can if you get sucked into them or involved in them, can really just throw you off course, and you're going to make decisions based on unclear thoughts. So I really tried to avoid that and just kind of work my way through it and let it go. And I felt a little bit better once I got into the office and started moving things, took my mind off. But then it's when it started to hit me, what I've been working on. And again, the difference between yesterday and today, and how what I recorded yesterday, because it seemed so insignificant to the scope of what I was doing, but I was so into that moment, it really was important. So that 4 or 5 minutes of whatever I recorded yesterday, where I was going to erase it and delete it and just disregard it, it's definitely going to play into what I'm demonstrating, because it shows a contrast, and it shows the shift of perception and consciousness on a daily, sometimes hourly basis, and how you can shift sometimes inadvertently without even really knowing that there's been a shift, and until after it's happened and you look back on it and say, all right, I see what happened there, and then I can evaluate it. But it also, this morning, again, I had a certain amount of clarity about how I've come to some of the conclusions that I've come to. I made a recording the day before yesterday, and it was after the fact, and it's one that's not posted, and it probably won't be posted because I really recorded it for myself. But I really believe that, and I've talked about it before, consciousness creates. We create our reality, and we've created this reality based on certain systems, on certain patterns, and the patterns that we see in our everyday lives is created by individuals are a direct reflection of how our reality was created, how this whole existence as we see it was created, and the systems that are in place that are constantly running that we are involved in while living. And it's at looking at some of the things that we as humans have created and seeing parallels between that. And I am not a mathematician. I don't really actually care for math, but I understand the theory behind it, and I understand it as a symbolic system to understand other things. And it's exactly the same. We can see things in our daily life, which is basically an equation, mathematical equation. And again, I'm not a mathematician, so I can't give you anything other than it is. And we can look at that and we can understand that equation, and then we can find a pattern in that equation that we see on a grander scale, macrocosmic scale around us, on a spiritual level, something that's unseen, intangible. And we can take that physical, because the physical we see, we can see that, we can generate that equation and we can see it. Then we can take the unseen and we can theorize another similar equation, or the exact same equation laid over that. And it may have missing pieces, but we can look at the first equation and we can take pieces of that equation and fill them into the other one to get an understanding of stuff unseen, the things that are around us that we just don't have the ability to put a finger on. And I came up with this light bulb analogy, which I was really, when it came to me, I was like, wow, it's one of those things in my life, I'm like, wow, that's perfect. That's exactly what I need to do. And it's really, I made the notes about it so that I could make a more detailed presentation, so I could show the difference between that. And then it reminded me of my whole driving analogy system, and that again, it's another project where I would like to create an entire body of work about the nature of driving, the nature of traveling, and following roads and getting from one place to another, and how that again, I can take all those physical things that I see on a daily basis, the getting into a car, operating a car, what we see, what we feel in our senses when we're driving, even if we're walking, taking a bus, flying, traveling anywhere, going from point A to point B, whether it's walking from one side of the room to the other or flying from one side of the planet to the other. It's really all one equation, and I can take that, and it's really complex, and there's multiple ways to look at it, but we can take that, I can create one big equation with that, and then I can compare that to things that are unseen, basically our existence, and I can show or demonstrate how those things that we don't see around us work. And all it really takes is faith. It takes the ability to understand the first equation, and the faith that that equation is exactly the same when applied to a different context, which is life. And that to me seems like the essence, the heart of what I'm trying to get to. And it's days like today, this morning, where I feel like everything I've done is very similar to the things I do at work. I'm patching things, I'm handling small situations, which are basically my own personal situations, and I'm not addressing any big major revelations really here. I'm not reaching that point. I mean, there's been an occasion here and there where I've done something or said something or made a recording. I'm like, all right, no, this is good, because this is it. This is what I'm working for. And these daily recordings, talking about my struggles of getting through the day and whether or not I'm hungry and whether or not I exercised, are really irrelevant. That's what I felt like this morning, and I felt like everything that I've done, and these, which I guess today this will be my 50th recording, if I have my count right, and not counting the ones that I recorded that aren't intended to be posted, that are personal notes. This should be my 50th, not 50th recording, but this should be my 50th post to YouTube. So with magic number 50, I'm basically addressing the idea that I feel like everything I've done in those 50 recordings or those 50 posts is trivial, irrelevant, and I try to revert back to what I was talking about the other day, that they're all brushstrokes in a painting, they're all minor details, and they will add to the context and the beauty of the finished project. But I feel like I haven't contributed any substantial philosophical or theoretical concepts, ideas that I know are there, and I'm toying around with them in my mind, and they just don't seem ready yet. But it's just, I haven't added any of those major components to my body of work, and it just seems to make the rest of the stuff nonsensical. So where do I go with that? I don't know. I guess right now I'm going to go into 529 Dukeway Unit 2 and do a move-out inspection, and then go back to the office and then have lunch. And at some point in the near future, I may sit down and create a presentation about the light bulb theory, and I may put the camera on the dashboard reverse so that I'm showing the roadway, and maybe drive around the roadway and explain my theory of movement and how it relates to the movement of consciousness and individuals through our reality and beyond. Or I may do nothing, and I may just sit around and whine about it for the rest of my life, making these insignificant recordings. Who knows?